just imagine if this happened or in England, if a million of their fellow men had died. Do you think that they'd abide by this mass extermination? To be rising up, rising up, rising up, rising up! I know that you do what you can as you perish in your old ancestral land. I know that you can't fight a war when you're starving, but I ask you now, how have we this man among us, worse than Cromwell, but still he lives? We pray for peace, now it's time for justice. Trust the Lord to forgive. Trust the Lord to forgive.
Good evening and welcome to Cavan TV's News and Views. My name is Anya Duffy and once again you're welcome here to our studio in Drummalee, Cavan, and thank you to Positive Age for the use of the studio. Well, Cavan Town and County Cavan, what can I say? What a place of art. Yeah, just last weekend we had the fantastic Cavan Arts Festival. Hi to Kim Cafferty and the great work and the great atmosphere there was around town last weekend. And did I mention the Town Hall? And the Town Hall. And of course, if you really must go and have a Google at something, Google the Town Hall programme for this year. Fantastic, wonderful, just absolutely out of this world events. Everything, anything you could wish and want to do is in Cavan's Town Hall. Now, this Sunday night though, I'm going to tell you about In the Midst of Plenty. And in the studio tonight, I'm going to welcome Kildare man, Owen Burke, to tell us, actor and singer Owen Burke. Good evening, Owen. How are you?
Hello, Anya. Lovely to be here in Cavan.
Great. And I see you have your friend there with you.
Oh, I call him Micheál Martin because it's a Martin. So
great stuff. Owen, an Irish folk musical.
Yeah, kind of.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the crossword in your head immediately. Irish folk musical. So essentially, In the Midst of Plenty is a musical written by an American woman called Amy Day. It was only written in recent years. I mean, in the last 2 years, our first performance of it was in Strokestown, Famine Museum in Strokestown, just last year. So the story is that an American writer called Amy Day, who's got a music background, singer-songwriter background, she went to visit the Strokestown Famine Museum and she found out about the famous story of Major Mahon, who was the landlord in Strokestown House. And he was the first landlord to be executed during the famine. And there's a big story about it, and I won't say more about it because it's part of the show. And Amy was intrigued by this story and thought it would make a good musical. So she went back to America and she started liaisoning with Irish historians and started to write this musical and songs and story. And then she started to investigate maybe the potential for producing this show, and then that's when she discovered Anne-Marie O'Sullivan, who has a theatre company right in Strokestown Park, which is ideal, and Anne-Marie and Amy got together.
And that's called the Enchanted Cree.
The Enchanted Cree Theatre is the name of Anne-Marie's company. So Enchanted Cree Theatre and Amy Day from America got together and produced this new musical, which is now gone on a nationwide tour, and we're coming to Cavan this Sunday night.
Would that be first, an Irish folk musical?
I don't know about that. I suppose maybe. It's certainly, when you say folk musical, I suppose what the reference there is that it comes from a kind of a folk music perspective and a folk tradition. But it's essentially all original music. All the songs are original, written specifically. Sorry?
Who's doing the music?
Amy Day wrote the music, as well as the script for the play. So.
Great. So as I say, folks, again, to reiterate that for you, that's a really interesting story. I like that. In the Midst of Plenty, in the Town Hall in Cavan, next Sunday night, the 28th. Let's get that right. The 28th of May. How many is in your troupe? Like, how many people will be coming with the show?
We have I'll get the band first. The band, we have one.
You have a live band on stage,
we have a live 5-piece, I believe, maybe more, 5-piece I think it is, band on stage. Drum kit, piano, guitar, fiddle, fantastic lineup.
Wowzers.
With A1 musicians, like really top quality musicians, and it's a privilege for me to to be
For them
standing
to
on
back
stage,
you.
for them to be behind me. It's like, yes, I don't have to play the guitar. It's lovely. So we've a fantastic band and a fantastic troupe of actors. The best actors in Ireland, in my opinion, are on stage.
How many
in
actors
Cavan.
are in the play?
I would say about they're between 8 and 10, I think.
Okay.
Thereabouts. Yeah. So a couple of actors are playing a couple of parts, like myself.
Right.
So we're all pitching in.
I think
and we're
you're
all,
a priest in one part,
I'm a priest, and I'm also an aristocrat, one of the aristocrats. So I've lots of.
Well, that kind of goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Yes, maybe. Yeah, maybe there's a bit of both in both characters.
Yeah. So for people to expect, that's great. You're telling us what to expect, but you're not giving away the story. So how long is it in 2 parts?
It's
or
in
is there
2
a break?
parts. So there's an interval, Act 1, interval, Act 2, 2 parts.
Right. Great stuff.
I think it's worth mentioning. One of the highlights for me of the experience of watching the show, as well as the band and the music, will be the visual aspect of the design, the stage design that I just seen today for the first time. And you're in for a treat if you go along, just to recreate that period of Irish history. And Anne-Marie is just she's just a phenomenal artist, you know, at the visual aspect of the show. So it's worth seeing that for that alone. Even it's amazing, you know.
Yeah. So I'll say it again, folks, next Sunday night, if it's not already booked out, the 28th of May, in the midst of plenty. Now, you've got a 32 county national tour.
Yes.
Throw out some dates, and we're going to throw it up on the screen there. We're going to throw out your dates. Oh, wow, you're really covering all over. Great Mullingar, Backstage Theatre, Longford, Galway. You have to go to Galway for when you have a tour. Ballybuffet, Derry.
Yeah.
Carlow, Tipperary, and you're in the O'Reilly Theatre in Dublin.
Yeah.
And can I say you're coming back to Cavan, and you are going to take part or be one of the acts taking part in the Cavan Calling Festival in July.
Can't wait. Yeah. So it's 2 trips to Cavan, you know. It just shows you how much we love coming to Cavan.
I have to say, you know, like, okay, you're blowing your own whistle here on you, but Cavan really is a great town for the arts. It's a small, compact little town, and we really are into our arts.
You're into your arts, and I've always heard that about Cavan, and I know that there was I don't know if you're familiar with, there's a band called Harry Bird and the Rubber Wellies that I used to do gigs with, and they always referred to Cavan like as the kind of highlight of the tour. They used to always stop off. There might have been, I think there was a little wine bar in Cavan that they used to stop off in, and had great crowds at their gigs and stuff like that. So Cavan was always in my head when I looked at the list of dates as like, yeah. So the fact that we're coming back twice, and I think the guys running the festival at the end of July have been really supportive of us too, and invited us back, and they've seen the show, they've seen the video of the show and stuff, and they invited us back, and it's absolutely brilliant that we're going to be coming to Cavan twice, so whoever comes on Sunday night might come back again at the end of July.
Absolutely looking forward to it. Now, I can't let you go without a song.
A song?
Yeah, come on.
Why not?
Get the Martin going there now.
So this song is actually from the show, and as I said, I play a priest. So this is from the perspective of the priest, and he sings this at the start of the show, and he's kind of talking about where he's come from, why he maybe became a priest, and his reasons for wanting to join the priesthood, and perhaps his views on where he is in life and everything will be changed by the circumstances of the famine and everything that he's seen around him. So it's called Taking Sides.
Take it away.
When I was just a little boy, my mother said to me, she said, Michael, almost nothing in this life is as simple as it seems. For everyone upon the earth is just trying the best they can. Remember that charity is owed to all your fellow men. From the farmer in the meadow to the king upon the hill, the beggar to the bishop from on high, everyone among us has a fate we must fulfill. We all do what we have to, what we must do to survive here. 'Tis the Lord who knits together what the devil's hands divide. And so for me, a simple man of God, there's no use taking sides. But my mother never lived to see the blight we now endure, to bridge the yawning chasm that divides the rich from poor, from the vile and pompous gentlemen and their agents flushed with greed, to the dying man who prays each night that God should intercede. I know my earthly duty is to witness and to serve, to bow my head and rise above the fray, with every starving child denied the justice she deserves. Perhaps with every prayer for peace I've simply gone astray, for when one man steals the bounty that this gentle land provides, every day it's harder still to keep from taking sides. In the darkest nights, when I'm alone, my mother comes to me. She says, Michael, don't you understand? It's as simple as it seems. For when the fool has trust upon them, what the wiser man decides, it's plain to see the battle lines are drawn. It's time for taking sides.
Wow, that's deep. That is deep. Deep stuff there about the famine.
Well, yeah, I think that's why I said a few words before I sang the song, because if you were just to sing that song in isolation, it's better to get
And one of the lines there jumped out at me: every one of us has a fate we must fulfill.
Yes, yeah, and he had choices to make, as many people during the famine, especially people in authority, and the priest, to an extent, had some authority over the people. He could choose maybe to have a little bit more comfort in his life, or he could go down and help the people. He had choices to an extent, but obviously maybe if you were a bishop you had more choices and more potential to.
Well, there you are, folks. Go on the night to see this. Now, can I ask you a stupid question? Would this be a little lesson in history?
Lesson in history? I think anything. One thing I will say is that it's that when Amy was writing this, she was absolutely thorough in her investigations and in her
research.
She absolutely researched it to the bone to make sure that what she was putting down in this play was as much factually correct as she could possibly get from historians and all the rest of it. So it's not a case of romanticising a period in Irish history. It's not a case of like, well, what do you think might happen here? It's more a case of using the documentation that was from the time.
Based on a true story.
Essentially it is, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful stuff.
The documentation was mostly done by those in power. So the aristocratical people, or the landlords and people like them, they were the only ones who could document back then, because the people who were suffering, they could either, some of them couldn't read or write, or some of them just were in so much hardship that, they didn't have time to sit down and write a diary about it,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So your nationwide tour is kicking off 25th in Mullingar.
Yep.
And we'll say hi to our friend there in Mullingar, Ray Dolan. Say hi,
Ray. Yeah,
good
we were
old
on
Ray.
Ray's show as well. Thanks, Ray, for having us.
1,000 and something, many days is he doing his...
He's in that bus non-stop. Yeah.
And he's a great singer as well, isn't he?
Fantastic, yeah, it's
we'll
great.
Say hi to Ray.
Hi, Ray.
And you're doing your nationwide whistle-stop tour, as it is, and it goes on until the end of July. Great stuff. Really looking out to that. But I just want to mention as well that people can look you up, Fia Rua.
Yeah.
And possibly on Facebook. Is that where you get you?
Yeah, and the show is, we've got all the social media on the show as well. We've got like In the Midst of Plenty, if you want to follow us on Instagram, In the Midst of Plenty. And if you want to follow Enchanted Cree Theatre, which is on Facebook and Instagram. And the website has all the information as well as the songs. If you want to have a listen, it's on inthemistofplenty.com.
Well, you know what? I am so looking forward to seeing that show. And I'm going to say it again, folks. Repetition is good. So if it's not already booked out, next Sunday night, May the 28th, in the good old Townhall Cavan, In the Midst of Plenty, an Irish folk musical. And thank you once again to Owen Burke for coming into the studio. And thank you
Anya,
for that song and telling me the story behind the song.
Thank you, Anya.
It really
Thanks
is.
for everyone in
It's just
Cavan.
something so interesting. Thank you so much. And there you are, folks. And thanks to all our listeners and viewers on Cavan TV.